did I tell you I had probably my worst or most significant dyspraxia incident in a long time that didn't actually cause injury?
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. So, I get up very early to feed the dog, take him out, whatever he needs. And this is anytime between like 4 and 7 a.m. And
Hmm.
today I didn't sleep very well. So I was up at 4 and like got up and made myself a sandwich and then kind of got him up so that, we could go out. But I was not necessarily all together with it. And this was 4 a.m. And I went to fill his hallway water, and it was very full, but I replace his water every day because he only likes fresh water because he's a bit of a diva. And so I filled that up okay. And then he was eating his dog food, and I picked up his water bottle or his water dish that was right next to his food, not thinking that, oh, if the hallway water was like full to the top, then I bet this water is full to the top also. I picked it up and realizing it was heavy, instead of my brain telling my other hand to like grip the bottom of the bowl to stabilize it, instead, what happened is I picked up the bowl, my brain went, wow, this is heavy and going to spill. And then my arm went, yes, it is. And then I proceeded to dump an entire dog bowl full of water on the dog.
So that's what that smell was.
He did not enjoy it. He did not enjoy it. He looked so offended. That's the best way I could describe it. And he didn't growl or bark. I think he was just so surprised. It was like the last thing either of us expected to happen. So we just sort of stared at each other, you know? And and then to help me out, he proceeded to drink the water off of the floor while I was trying to dry it. He was drinking it. So, yeah, but that is the most consequential dyspraxia moment that I've had in a very long time.
Well, I actually filled both of those waters last night, because these gigantic water bottles with like the
Mm-hmm.
positive affirmations on them,
Mm-hmm.
uh, the drying heating coil in our dishwasher
Mm-hmm.
is a bit much. So one of these kind of melted,
I saw
and
that, but
it's got a little bit of like a pour spout to it now.
I threw
Um,
that away. Should I not have thrown that away? Should I get that out of the garbage?
I was using it to fill the dog's water,
Mm.
um, because it's got a pour spout.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I can dig it out. I can take it out of the garbage. It's probably right on top.
Yeah, no,
Um,
it's
the
fine.
the problem, the ADHD habit of buying 56 of something when you like it
Hmm.
is consequential or has repercussions. One of them is when you buy them all at the same time, they break at the same time because this water bottle, when I was screwing the top on, since I am somebody who clearly spills, I need the ones that close. I went to close it and the closure exploded in the kitchen. So they are breaking all at the same time.
Ha.
Yep. Yep. See, that's part of the ADHD tax that you don't talk about.
Hmm.
It's that everything you own just goes at the same time because you've purchased it all at the same time.
Wow, yeah. I never considered that, but yeah, that's totally a thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Huh.
So these things have a shelf life, and so I would expect. I know there's one of them that has a little crack that hasn't quite made it through the plastic to the point where it has a leak. I'm gonna keep my eye on that one because I bet that one's next.
Or we could like just get replacements,
Mm-hmm.
maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Although we have like eight of them, we're probably fine for a minute.
Yeah, we should probably wait until we actually have a shortage to see if we really need 56 of them. That might not be the desired amount of water bottles.
Yeah.
That may just be what we have.
Well, in the meantime, do you want to make a podcast?
Let's make a podcast.
Hello, and welcome into another episode of Gifted Kid, Messy Adult, and Neurodiversity Podcast, the show where potential went to die. I'm one of your hosts, Ellie Michaels. I use she, her.
I am your other host, Jessica Michaels. I use she, they.
And today we are talking about dating apps and neurodiversity.
Yes, we are talking about one specific dating app called Hinge. And they this year released a new feature that is targeted specifically to help transgender and neurodivergent users. So I thought what better to talk about on a neurodiversity podcast during Pride Month.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That is how it works. Is it just like a bar below your picture that just says it's June, you have to be nice to me?
I just
Or,
assume everybody gets a daily telegram because those still
mhm.
exist. Somebody's got to keep them in business. So it makes sense that it's the queers.
I mean, we do like camp.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not the kind
Like
with
the
like bugs and tents, but like the
I just picture the
singing
girl in
telegram.
Clue that says, da 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 da, I am your singing telegram. But then yeah, that part is not included. Um, but anyway, so the match note is something that isn't in your profile, but it is something that goes to the person that you match with before you can have a conversation. So the article that I found this in, which is in Fast Company, says specifically, they highlight having kids, for example. That might not be something that you want to put in your profile because of, privacy reasons, but you want to make sure that the person that you're matching with is aware and okay with that. So you use a match note. And they see, they tested the match note feature with 2,000 daters, and they said 83% of the trans and non-binary respondents thought that the feature improved their ability to show up as their authentic self on Hinge. Now, they didn't say how many of the 2,000 users were trans or non-binary, so this could be 83% of four people. They also don't highlight anything about how neurodivergent users felt. And to me, that's sort of a glaring omission for a feature that you think is specifically going to help trans and neurodivergent people, that you didn't have specific trans and neurodivergent testers in a focus group.
Hmm. It's weird to get data for that kind of thing because like there's dating is supposed to be kind of spontaneous-ish. So like here, neurodivergent person volunteer to use this app and get some dates and then let us know how it went. That's like a super, super subjective experience because it hugely matters where you are and like what age you are and how you look and how many people you're particularly interested. That's a weird thing to get a data set on. But like
Well,
I know several people, myself included, who got to the point of like, you know what, I'm just not dating neurotypicals. Just pass. Just pass. It's going to be too much work to try and have a basic conversation with you, let alone be like, this is my lived experience and these are things that affect me every day. And they're like, that sounds ridiculous. And go, okay, never mind. Goodbye.
mm-hmm.
So it's, mm,
I think the forthrightness that this match note is trying to give people the opportunity to have is very much the way most neurodivergent people would like to communicate in these situations. anyway. It's your opportunity to kind of plant a flag in the ground and say, hi, this is a fact. This is, how it is, which would be something that I would do in the first communication anyway,
Hmm.
because if it's that important, the conversation wouldn't go past one or two lines. But I suppose maybe there are some people who are not comfortable disclosing that kind of thing right up front, whereas to me that's the only way that I would do it to not have a giant waste of time.
Hmm. Yeah, I had some pretty significant wastes of time on several apps, Hinge included, where there would be a match, there'd be a bit of chatting, and then they would go back and actually read my profile and go, "Oh, sorry, not interested in trans girls." And at least those were like the polite ones who said it out loud. So like I I like this idea if the match doesn't go through until they've read the thing and like clicked a thing. Otherwise, it's just like, oh, I got a match and they unmatched. Oh, I got a match and they unmatched. Like it got to the point where I edited my main profile picture, like the first one that pops up with the word trans and then an arrow pointing at me of like, hi.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, my face looks like this. It's an aftermarket. Uh, this was behind a paywall. Um, so yeah, no, definitely for the neurodiversity thing and the gender thing, it would definitely be good if and as long as people don't treat this as like the terms and conditions on a new piece of software, we're like, yeah, I totally read it. Like there's, there's a nightmare patent out there for tracking your eye movement when you're looking at ads on like an iPhone,
Oh no.
so that you have to actually look at the ad in order for it to go past it. Like this is something I would be okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah. It just says the feature lets users send a must read note to their match before starting a conversation. But if somebody doesn't want to read something, they're not going to read something. If somebody's just clicking through, I mean, how many terms and conditions, like you said, how many e-learnings, you're just clicking to get to the end, clicking to get to the good part. So
mhm,
I don't know. I guess this makes it more likely that somebody will have taken in the information, but it's certainly not a guarantee. So maybe it cuts out some of those interactions, but you're right. I don't know that anything can be done to take away all of them.
mhm. I guess it is a bit less off-putting than the kind of thing where it's like the first line in your bio is, neurotypicals keep swiping. Like, I am not for you. Transphobes, go away.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
fascists and Republicans to the back of the line. Actually, just get out of line. Go away.
Yeah. Of course, that kind of thing would make me more interested in talking to somebody, because it's like, well, then clearly that's my people right there. So,
Yeah, yeah,
I
no,
guess
yeah.
but I can understand it. It didn't occur to me till this conversation that perhaps people wouldn't lead with something like that that's a deal breaker, because me and my autistic self puts that information first and foremost. It's like, hi, by the way, I'm autistic, because that's really, to me, there's no point in exchanging any words at all if that isn't something that is okay. So if that person then leaves me on red, then okay, then my
Hmm.
strategy to me was effective. So reading this, it was like, oh, I guess maybe maybe there aren't things or there are things that people don't necessarily want to just shove in the face of another human being before you have a conversation. But to me, I'm like, hi, this is important. And
Hmm.
so I guess I would have done this whether or not the feature was offered, essentially.
Yeah. But then again, yeah, you don't want to necessarily disclose to literally everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Like uh there's libs of TikTok. That is
Mm-hmm.
a hate account that's full of terrorists, and they find people on TikTok, particularly people like me, and then
Mm-hmm.
they try to harm us in various ways.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's entire websites dedicated to finding, doxing, and harming trans people
Mm-hmm.
just cause, just cause. I've a
Yeah.
couple of friends who are political activists, and they happen to also be trans, and they also have an ongoing, constant dialogue with their local police department because every
Mm-hmm.
couple of months, the police department gets a call that that person has a bomb in their apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And then the cops call, hey, somebody reported this. They go, yeah, yeah, I was on that one website last week. I saw. They go, okay, you don't have any bombs, right? They're like, no, 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 I'm good. Okay.
Yeah, I think, because to me, there's definitely stigma and misinformation and prejudice that comes with being autistic or neurodivergent or disabled in any way.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never felt that has led into physical danger. I've definitely lost jobs because of it. I've definitely
That
experienced
counts.
bad things. Well, but I mean, I've never thought that somebody was going to use that information to physically harm me. Whereas I know that there are trans women, especially, who have been physically harmed because of this information for some, this gender, even for as long as I've known that there are transgender people, I've known that there is violence perpetrated against them for being trans and talking to someone or having interest in someone in the mildest form or fashion, you know, broaching the subject. So I think that
I
it is
would
more
argue that
consequential for you than it is for me.
I would argue that in our capitalist system where being unemployed and or destitute can lead directly to massive harm to yourself and your family,
Mm-hmm.
that someone firing you because of this counts as doing you harm. So, say
I,
you have it disclosed in the front of your profile and one of your managers doesn't match, but they see you on
mm-hmm,
the app and they see that
mm-hmm,
you're listed as neurodivergent or trans or whatever, and then they find a reason to fire you. But
mm-hmm,
it's actually because they found this thing out about you that they don't have any business knowing.
mm-hmm,
And you can't prove anything because they didn't match.
right.
So I do like that bit of separation and siloing of that data. I mean, you can
Mm-hmm,
also make a fake profile and then, match and check and look into it. It's a lock on a paper bag, but it's
mm-hmm,
at least a little bit of a lock.
mm-hmm. Is it safer than or more comfortable than meeting somebody like at in a queer space, like a queer bar?
Hmm. I don't know because I don't go to a lot of queer bars
Mm-hmm.
because I'm old and my organs would not react well to that. Um,
I will mention because I know there are a lot of sober neurodivergent folks out there. I went to a comedy show and I had a non-alcoholic Blue Moon and it
oh,
was
so good.
fantastic. It was by far the best non-alcoholic beer I have ever had, and reminded me very much of a Blue Moon, which was one of my favorite beers. So, if you are sober and you are looking for something to drink and not feel totally left out, go ahead and order a non-alcoholic Blue Moon. And then the bartender where I was at, she didn't just give me the can that says not alcoholic all over it. She poured it in a glass and put an orange in it, and it was delightful. So, but yeah, I can understand not going to a lot of bars being, being older and being tired and being sober. It's not as exciting to watch everybody else drink when you're not drinking.
Hmm. Yeah, no, the non-alcoholic beer scene is freaking phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have gone out to, queer bars here and there, maybe once a month. I can muster the energy to do it, and just about everywhere has at least one or two options,
Mm-hmm.
and they're great. Like it just tastes like a beer because
Mm-hmm.
I guess, Gen Z doesn't drink, so hey, another win for them.
So would you, and I'm not sure, it's hard to make the situations comparable, because if you're meeting somebody face to face, but in theory, what is a safe space? But your point is nowhere really is guaranteed to be safe, if ever, for disclosing things like neurodivergence or being trans. I think it's in a regular situation or a situation where maybe I guess maybe my problem, here's my problem altogether. I am so neurodivergently bad at dating and relationships anyway. I have such a hard time imagining what is quote unquote normal because, like I said, I only found out recently within the last few months that you can go on a date without anybody saying we are going on a date, or
Uh-huh.
that that I'm going on a date because I have romantic interest in you. Like I really thought those things were stated, and that's because how else would you know you were on a date if somebody didn't say it? So I think maybe this is an area where I would need some general neurotypical guidance as to what what the norms would be, because I'm at a loss as to what that looks like for regular people.
It's I think the psychology and the stance has shifted quite a bit. Um, where I feel like before, probably, 10-ish years ago, maybe, um, things were more like vibe based. Like, how do you know when to kiss a date? It's like, well, you just kind of wait for a good opportunity and blah blah blah, and you go by, vibes and feels. Now you go, hey, could I kiss you? And either they say yes or they say no, which is, I think, an awesome development and a great way to go. Um, if you're kind of old, you gotta like remember that. Like,
It's just funny because I distinctly remember being at a bar in 2006, and the person that I was with said, "Can I kiss you?" But and again, that person was a comedian and likely, oh, no, he was definitely neurodivergent because he was dyslexic.
yeah,
So I guess that's now that I think about it, I hadn't put any of that together till now. So no wonder I was interested. So yeah, I guess I just have the neurodivergents have always been doing it differently. And that's the things that I respond to because that's the only way I can communicate is by clearly stating expectations and putting it out there. So yeah, that's funny.
yeah. And if you've ever misread those vibes or those signs, I think you definitely approve of the new method. Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but better to feel a little bit embarrassed from a no than to look like a creep and maybe get slapped or, violate someone's bodily autonomy without meaning to. So yeah, I guess the communication is much more open,
Mm-hmm.
which is good.
This is this story that I don't know if I've told in this format, but there was somebody who just to show my neurodivergent sense of how you flirt and have relationships. There was somebody who I met on a business trip who I was just going down for dinner at the bar in the hotel, and there was a dueling pianos. So I stayed, and this gentleman introduced himself to me, and he said, "My name is Cam, and my neurodivergent flirting tactic was to say Cam, as in the United States government has a bicameral legislature." Because I had been reading about, you know, civics around the world, essentially. And I was all excited to compare and contrast bicameral legislatures with other legislatures around the world. And he did not respond in kind. Actually, I don't think he got the reference. So I think that was my way then of announcing that I was neurodivergent, whether I knew it or not. That was a big old autistic right on my forehead, even though neither one of us had the terminology. That's exactly what happened.
So yeah, no, we found ways in the before times of doing this too.
Would you
But that's
use
in
this
person.
feature? Would you use this feature on
Um,
Hinge?
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I would. Um, Luckily from, my experience of the general user base of Hinge in Denver, pretty much all queers. Either mostly I was looking at trans femmes, lots more Ellies, and a whole bunch of NBs named after trees. So you don't worry too much about that, but it's still important to get out front. I I,
Mm-hmm.
I like this idea. This is good.
I think it's better to have the option, and then
Hmm.
people could use it if they want, or not use it. You could obviously still have a conversation and disclose at any point in time, or not at all. And it's like one of the hmm,
You could use this as a canary clause. Like, I'm thinking like I would want to format it to look like a terms and conditions. Like, these are my terms and conditions. You have to read this,
mhm,
otherwise this isn't going to work. And then you have something in there like you ever get the test in school where it's like read all the instructions first, and then like the last instruction is sign your name on the back of this paper and turn it over.
mhm.
But then you see all the kids who aren't reading the instructions, like going up to the blackboard and drawing a B and like doing the things. Um, I would do something like that. And like, halfway down, be like, if you're actually reading this, say pineapple to me as the first thing that you say. Like, oh, look, you had the common decency and literacy to, actually check.
The thing that
I think it's a
YouTubers
little,
do to encourage you to watch to the end of the video so their stats are good, at the very end they have a phrase. Yeah, and we do that too in sometimes in training environments. People have done that to encourage people to watch to the very end. Um, so yeah, I think it's better. To me, it's like curb cuts. A curb cut
hmm
is designed for somebody who's disabled, but it's also good for people with strollers and people with rolling luggage. And, it's something that everybody can benefit from. This is the same kind of thing. I think it's targeted for a couple of groups. I think it will probably be beneficial to a lot of people. They mentioned single parents, but I think there's a lot of things potentially that you wouldn't necessarily want to disclose to everybody. You might want to save. So I think it's a good idea. People are still going to, if they are determined to not read something, they're just not going to read the thing. And after a career in trying to educate adults in a corporate environment, I know that very, very well. You cannot make somebody take in information if they just don't want to. So it's not always going to
hmm
work, but it's a good tool to have in your arsenal. And we would love to find out from our listeners. Have you used Hinge? Have you used this feature on Hinge? Is this something that you think would have been helpful to you in your dating life? Let us know. We would like to find out how this is working within the community.
Does this seem like a reasonable feature, or does it just seem a little bit unhinged? I'll see myself out. Well, with that, I think that'll wrap it up for this episode of Gifted Kid Messy Adult, so my wife doesn't leave me. Uh, if you like our show, please rate and review us. For any other information, please email your questions, comments, or just outright praise to giftedkidmessyadult@gmail.com. So until next time, take care of each other out there.
Bye.